to withdraw, we're not only going to be using both sides of the spinal cord. We could have information travel and stay on one side, information travel, cross. It takes more than one segment. It can take two or more. The tendon reflex. This one is important in helping maintain muscle length. All right? One of the things that becomes important with skeletal muscle, we need to make sure that our contractions and movements of the skeletal muscle are not overstretched or over shortened.
I went to a chiropractor. My right leg was an inch shorter than my left leg. Is that?
What did he do?
He adjusted it and it came right.
Okay, he adjusted. Adjusted what?
My leg. It was adjusting my body.
Did he adjust your leg, or did he have you lay down flat on something, and then he just started all down your spinal cord? Okay, well, your vertebral column. Okay, now that you had that happen, and you kind of know now about this stuff, because that's rather interesting, because I love it, because chiropractors can, if they know what they're doing, they can be very helpful. Okay? So, one of your legs was shorter than the other. Okay? And he basically laid you flat on the bed. All right? And then he probably started, did he start somewhere up here?
Yeah.
And then he began to work his way down. First thing he did was he palpated, right?
Yeah, you did.
He just kind of felt along your vertebra. Okay? And then he would know, based on his training, he would know if, like, they're out of line. So what does he do? He comes in, puts all that pressure on you that, like, you feel like you're going to just die right there on the table, and he kind of twists, okay? And then twist, twist, twist. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that.
I love it. It's amazing.
I don't want anybody messing with my neck.
You don't put anything that just to get out.
It cracks in places.
Ooh. Yeah. And so he just kept twisting, and hopefully by the time he was done, these muscles that, because of it being out of the line, they were tight and pulling, and that's why your leg was shorter. And hopefully that released it and let your leg go back to the normal length. Which is kind of cool, if you think about it.
Okay, this may be a dumb question.
No such thing.
But both reflexes and somatic reflexes involve all three muscles, or is it just the somatic?
We are going to find that we have reflexes in all three muscle types.
Okay.
Skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac.
Okay.
Right now, these reflexes from this chapter are all skeletal. Okay? That's a good point. All the reflexes that are listed in this chapter and this part right here are all skeletal muscle reflexes. And basically trying to show the area, like, are we using one side or are we using both sides, that sort of thing. This tendon reflex, like I was saying, it's very important to make sure that we don't overstretch or that contractions can be strong, okay? And we have, tendon reflexes hopefully will help decrease that and decrease the chance of a muscle overstretching. Now, just some FYI, spinal cord trauma. Now remember, this is referring to the spinal cord. Remember how in the beginning we talked about the difference between now knowing a spinal nerve injury versus the spinal cord injury. Spinal cord injuries, thousands upon thousands of people are paralyzed every year because of spinal cord injuries. A lot of times, something has happened, they fractured their vertebra. Now, highest risk group, males, 16 to 30. Why?
I feel like they engage in more risky.
They are engaging most likely in more risky behavior. Okay? Base jumping or whatever the case might be. Now, a lot of what happens comes from automobile and motorcycle accidents. That number, I haven't checked the recent statistics, but because so many people text and drive now and they don't pay attention to what they're doing, that number has probably increased significantly based on automobile accidents. Now, when the cord is severed completely, this is a complete transection, meaning that at some point of this spinal cord, it is completely cut through. That tells me anywhere that took place, that an injury that would completely sever this cord, everything below it is lost. This is what leads to the different types of paralysis. Okay? Now, if we have a complete severance above C4, this is usually when people die. Okay? Now, note my terminology. Usually. Does anybody in here remember the Superman?
Yeah.
The one that had fell off the horse and had the injury? Christopher Reeve. Y'all are way too young.
No, he's from Virginia. He did in Virginia.
I know, but I mean, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not so old anymore.
He's from Charlottesville, so.
Okay, cool. Well, but still, I'm like, okay, I mean, I actually remember watching the shows. That's how old I am. Now, okay, do you know where he severed his spinal cord?
C4.
C1. Between C1 and C2. He actually survived what we term decapitation. That's the reason that he was on so many machines. Because technically, his head was cut away from his body. Yeah. That's like, for anybody to survive that is a pure miracle. I mean, that just doesn't happen. Because anything above C4, that's getting into the area that's working with the brain, that is our brain stem, which is basically our functions for homeostasis, for maintaining blood pressure, for maintaining heart rate, body temperature, respiration rate, all these different things, okay? Depending on where the severing takes place. Now, someone who's paraplegic, too, okay? They usually refer to being paralyzed in the lower limbs. Quad is 4, so they're usually paralyzed from, they usually say from the neck down. Hemi is on one side of the body. Paresis is where we get partial weakness in the limbs. So these are the terms that you'll come across in the medical field for the type of paralysis that the patient may have. So that officially ends 13. We're going to start 14 on Thursday. And I think lab 17 is relatively simple. And the way that I like for you to do labs, you can definitely work, let's see, 6, 12, 15, 17. Okay, working groups of 2, should have a couple of groups of 3. And I give you time to work on these, finish them in lab. And what I like for you to do, because one of the things